Let's see. Let's keep pumping HP. Because I am not durable enough yet, ever. Let's see. What do we do? What can we upgrade? Hourglass. None of these are particularly good. What about the Cold Nova? So we need, What do we have for fusing? We could make some life and death runes. Because I could upgrade the Cold Nova. What does the level 2 do? Chance... Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty good. Wow, that's actually really good. Yeah, so we want a life and death rune. Oh, nope, that didn't work. Okay. Fuse. Fuse. Okay, and we want to upgrade you. Because this'll heal me. Oh, right. Let's go back, actually. We've got some unidentified fight cards. I should look at these things first. Okay, let's start with you. What do we got? Oh. Well, this is lame. Second Breath. Instant mana restore 20. All spells cost 0 mana during effect. Charge cost decreased by 10%. Resets all spell cooldowns on use. Fancy. I mean, that's really good. Oh. So we actually sell the spare potions. That's neat. I didn't know you could do that. Okay, Town Portal of Blast. Huh. Can I sell some of these?
No, I can see your future is very grim.
So I can't sell cards.
Stay and listen.
Can I, like, fuse cards together? No, it doesn't look like it. That's unfortunate. I guess, honestly, to go back to the Path of Exile thing for one more bit, including build and, like, popular builds and whatnot in the actual, like, game itself might actually be a decent, like, alternative. Because if you kind of, god dang. As, like, a newer player, I don't want to just, like, search through the forums to go find what's a good build. And I don't even know what I'm looking for. And so having, like, community kind of chosen, like, yeah, this is a decent build. Try this build. Would help a lot, because I don't know who's right or not. I just kind of pick whatever. You can't sell cards, because it's more like unlocking options. It's true. Just the idea of a blasting town portal just sounds really goofy. And so if I could get some quick cash instead, it would maybe work better. Not a big deal, but still. Nope, he's got a shield. And we got a boss. Oh, fun. Oh, no. Okay, I gotta get out of here. Oh, this is the boss right here. Okay. Can't get that. Get him out. No. Stupid shields. Okay, there we go. This got hairy. In a hurry. Let's see. Stay away from that. Actually, oh, no, that was a teleport. I really hate getting locked in here. This is one of the few games where getting, like, cornered is extremely dangerous. Normally you don't get cornered outside of, like, maybe Dead Space. Okay, so they're actually saying they'll have being able to link your build in chat. That'd be a good way of doing it. Though I still think, like, a build browser in chat wouldn't be a bad idea. Or not chat, just built into the game would be... I mean, honestly, it's working for them. My criticisms are meaningless. I'm just, like... kind of voicing why I've always been a little bit turned off of Path of Exile as opposed to, like, Torchlight and whatever. Because, like, it's hard for me to commit to a game that outright, more or less, tells me my first run is either requires a bunch of pre-research or is wasted. That never sat well with me. Especially because, like, if I want to include anybody else in Path of Exile that has, like, never tried it before, I'm gonna have to more or less tell them, you have to go learn a build. And that's never gone well. Like, I have done billions of collabs at the... Well, not billions, obviously, I'm being hyperbolic. But I've done loads of collaborative series with people over the years. And asking people to do any amount of prep work is impossible. I don't know how many of you guys play D&D, but it's... Like, how many of you guys have done D&D and you had, like, the one player that showed up, you know, to session 1 without a character? They're told to make the character beforehand, and they know how to make it, but they just don't bother because they had other things they wanted to do instead. And, like, they have the ability, they have the technology, they have every... I mean, even the time, honestly. But they don't. Even if they easily could. And so, like, that's one of the problems I run into. Because I'd like to involve other people in, like, certain games. Because, you know, I'd love to involve more people in D&D. But last time I played... well, I guess with the Grave of Man campaign, I more or less made everybody's characters for them, and then was like, hey, you know, here's some options. I've more or less made every possible combination you could work with. Just let me know if you need any, like, major fixes or whatever. And then it was, like, 5 sessions in, it's like, I don't really like what you did with this. And I'm like, you had plenty of time. I mean, I did spring it on the party that is like, yeah, we're doing D&D this way. But it was like, you know, a little bit of front-end work would help. Maybe. I don't know. I have problems. Get away from me. What is the boss here? Oh, it's that little guy. Well, at least we're getting a lot of unidentified cards at this point. DMing a new Pathfinder campaign, all your players were so overly enthused that they had most of their characters done already. I want that. Like, I mean, obviously, if any of you guys have been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I have a half-completed campaign sitting around out there. And I'm not sure if it'll continue, just because of life and some other things. I mean, losing a player part of the show is always kind of tough. And I've just been kind of lonerish ever since. But I'd like to do a new campaign with people. I'm just, like, super afraid to ask people, because, like, I don't want to be like, hi, we've never done a video before, but you seem like you'd be kind of fun in D&D. Want to do a campaign with us? Then finding out, like, they have horrible personality problems or, like, control issues. Or, like, that guyisms. Ugh. I've got way too many that guy stories, and I hate them all. I've been that guy a couple of times. I was that guy that showed up to D&D and would pretty much nap during the campaign. Admittedly, it wasn't exactly my fault, because they just told me to roll cleric and then heal them when they needed to, and then never speak because they had effectively, collectively decided the sorcerer would be the face of the party and the only person that would talk. And so yeah, I just brought a pillow to session 3 and then slept until they tapped me and said, we need a healing spell, at which point I just said, here's my character sheet, play without me. I'm not necessary here. I have some really negative feelings about 4.0 because that was my only relative experience. That guy story, I'm not sure what that means. That guy stories are let's see. I guess honestly on Reddit I think it's like RPG horror stories or whatever, but that guy story is like, there was a guy that I was playing with on D&D that did this thing. So, easy example, so what am I missing, or are we done? No, we're not done. Oh, we've got this over here. Let's see, what's a good example? At a couple of, I would say friends in high school, but they weren't exactly friends, they were like siblings of people, or friends of friends, or whatever. And they would always show up with a character that was designed specifically to mess with the rest of the party. If you've ever done a campaign where everybody is good except for one party member who is evil, and their entire, like, goal is to screw over the entire party regardless of whether or not it advances any goals. That's like the most classic that guy.
See, your future is very grim.
Okay, so let's upgrade this if we can. Because, yeah, this Cold Nova is sweet. I'd like to unlock the rest of the cards. We might have money for it. Yeah, we have enough to unidentify one. So there's one character... Oh god, that's a lot of cards. And it's an Hourglass. Hourglass of Elephant of Plenty of Blast. I feel like this should be a slightly different naming scheme, because it's just of. Slows time. That's interesting. But yeah, so the one guy was smart, but he was also kind of a dick. And, like, he knew he was generally smarter than most everybody else in the room, and he liked to flaunt it. So his goal in every D&D campaign he was ever involved in was to make a min-maxed evil character that would secretly murder... Whoa. Oh, did I just leave? I must have just left. Every campaign he was ever in, and we only did a couple with him, but every single time, he'd always play a character who would secretly try and murder the entire party. Usually at night, you know, start by stealing important stuff, poisoned healing potions, so on and so forth. And the idea of it would work really well if it was like a character that was designed to be like a mid-range player character. Or not mid-range player character, but like a DMPC that's designed very specifically to, you know, die at some point, you know, get found out, is built into the plot. But no, the DM didn't even, like, sanction this. He was just like, wait, so you're going to just poison the, all of the healing potions, because of course you're the cleric, that has been, you know, healing everybody. And, you know, have more or less said that you're going to handle all the healing potions. Because we'd had, like, there was a plot point that there was a bad batch of healing potions. I think he, like, latched onto that and more or less decided that that was going to be his character backstory. And so he was, like, I think he straight up, like, killed the monk, by dropping the monk into a pit. And I don't think the monk actually died because of slow fall stuff, but the monk couldn't get back. Because it was, like, one hell of a pit. And so it was like, unless we climb all the way down there to rescue him, and who knows what's down there, we're never going to rescue him, and we don't even know if we're going to be able to make it. And there was like kind of a, vote. It's like, okay, well, do we go down? Like, we've got Featherfall, we could probably make it. You know, just kind of Featherfall when we see the bottom, or any number of things. I really hate these archers. They're not so bad, but there's just so many of them. I guess mainly I should just be using my healing potions a little bit here. Get out of here. Okay. But yeah, so whatever he had done to drop the monk in, nobody had noticed because he was being sneaky, obviously. And, you know, obviously nobody was built to, say, identify the player character that is trying to kill everybody else. It's like, you know, you're not really building a character that's supposed to find out if your healing potions are kosher or not. And so we were trying to decide whether or not to go into, we were trying to decide whether or not we were going to go down into the pit to rescue. And more or less his character, was saying, like, no, we're not going down there, you know, it's too much of a risk. And of course, he's got a very high charisma, because of course he would. And so he just rolls, you know, he says whatever, and then he's like, I roll to diplomacy. And I always feel like posed rolls for players is kind of a risky thing in D&D. You know, stuff like bluff and diplomacy should generally not work against other player characters unless it's kind of reasonable. And that's always like a tough thing anyway. But the DM at the time was like, yeah, nope, you guys are thoroughly convinced not to go into the pit, and you leave your monk friend alone. Maybe you'll find him down there. And like, I feel like a lot of this really did have to do with the DM being a complete pushover for this guy. But they were friends more than we were friends with the DM, so this guy more or less could low-key just effectively screw with us as much as he wanted. I left because I had college and straight up, like, didn't live in the area. But my brother kept going with the campaign for, I think, 3 more sessions before he rolled a nat 20 to identify what was going on. Because I think he had the rogue or something like that. Nat 20 to spot the guy that night. More or less, you know, concocting some new way of dooming the party. And then the guy got really mad because there's no way you should have been able to see that regardless of your nat 20. You know, why would you have any reason to even inspect me? And it's just like, somebody's been poisoning the healing potions and, like, sabotaging bowstrings and stuff, so, hey, guess what? I decided to not sleep tonight to figure it out. And what do you know? During your watch period, you were doing heinous things. And once again, he rolled a bluff check, and what do you know? He rolled really high, because his, you know, his, you know, charisma is really high, and he got skills in it. Of course, the rogue's sense motive wasn't nearly as high, because wisdom's kind of a dump stat for rogues. But the DM is like, nope. You have been thoroughly convinced, and you go back to bed. At which point, evil character just straight up slits I think it was my brother's character's throat. Because, of course, you know, he had the coup de grace knife. Get out of here. And my brother's character died, and he left. And I realize that this isn't just like a that guy thing. This is very much like a that guy and that DM. But, like, these stories are not that uncommon, and it always sucks to, like, run into these players or these DMs. Because, like, I really like D&D. I can't get to that demon to knock out his... There's so many little demon creatures. At least I can just kind of pop them, which helps. It bothers me a little bit that they're immune to damage while casting. Okay. More spiders. At least I've got heals for days. Get out of here. This Cold Nova is amazing. I'm very glad I picked it up. Holy crap, how much damage did this guy do? Can't move? Nope, too late. Oh, right. I should be using WSD to move back and forth here. I've been using click to move, which is actually slowing me down considerably. Then there's always kind of like the alternate that guy-isms where the entire party kind of isn't up for D&D and like doesn't really know how to D&D. So I did a campaign when I was in college with some friends. And they were all great people, and it was actually a pretty fun campaign. But it was the DM's first campaign ever, and everybody was rolling, like, you know what the... Okay, I'm just gonna say, the entire party except for Shell were straight up murder hobos. Like, actively, more or less, it was a party of barbarians that would just attack people. Because that was just their thing. See a problem? Kill a dude. Problem solved. Rinse, repeat. And honestly, it actually worked pretty well, but the DM didn't really have, like, any sense of power scaling, so we enter a town and immediately get into trouble because somebody was an idiot. I don't even remember who. Hello, what is this thing? Staff of Lightning. Electric bolts damage shields. Chance to spawn bolts on monster damage. Nah, that's really good. Number of bolts 1 to 3. Bolt damage on monsters 1. Dangerous to you and your golem. That might be something to grab. But yeah, she had never done a campaign before, and so her like sense of power scale and like even campaign organization was kind of messy. We could go anywhere from rocking combat to getting one shot by who knows what. And so, like, we started in a town, somebody pissed somebody off, because there was, like, it was very clear that the town had, like, a cult problem going on, but it wasn't clear is that everybody was in on it except for us, and we truly had no business being in town, because more or less their plan was to, never let us in and then kill us for being there, and it was just like, why did we spawn in the inn here if they didn't even want us to enter the town to begin with? DM didn't have an answer for that, and I gave her a pass, because truly it was her first time playing D&D ever, but effectively putting a bunch of murder hobos into a campaign meant for heavy role-playing didn't go great. And so I think eventually we had to more or less, like, voluntarily exile ourselves in a hurry. I think with, like, one party member near death. Because the cult people effectively summoned... I mean, I'm gonna call it the... Thanks. I really like this Cold Nova. It is saving my bacon way more than I thought it would. Okay. But yeah, we, like, lost a party member because they summoned effectively what was the Demogorgon. Or something ridiculous. Like, effectively, a DM had found the biggest, baddest thing they could possibly summon, and it, like, took out one or two party members in the first round. And so the second round was us hightailing it out of town. And it's like, it would have made a great story, a better story, if it had actually felt like we had some agency in even creating the problem in the first place. Because I love the idea of, you know, players getting in over their heads and, like, booking it. It's just, you gotta handle it well. Or it just feels unsatisfying. I gave my brother shit for that, because, like, one of the first bosses we ever fought in his campaign was straight up, like, this evil assassin queen that could just one-shot anybody. Followed by a lich. Followed by a second lich. And it was just like, oh god, how are these, like, newbie players supposed to do things? And then I think I've told this story semi-recently, but, one of the party members straight up was just a pacifist and didn't tell anybody. That was not pleasant to find out in the middle of a critical boss fight against a lich that had just killed my character. And he was the cleric, and he's like, well, I don't want to piss off the lich, so I'm gonna hide in a bag of holding and wait for this all to blow over. And it's like, wait, hold on. What? Where did this come from? And, like, none of us had ever figured it out before, because I was the only combat character, and everybody else just kind of hung back or did whatever. It didn't go great. Having a pacifist is not a problem. Not telling one is a problem. Finding out in the middle of a lich boss fight, serious problem. Because he effectively wasn't even going to heal the party members, because he didn't want to be involved in combat. And, I think my brother had known, as the DM, because this was, like, his best friend from college. And I think, like, that sort of collusion is fine, but it was very clear it was going to be a high combat campaign-ish. Because there was, like, army of undead, you know, hell-bent on killing everyone-ish. And he was going to try and pacifism his way through it, and then convinced a dude to kill his boss? He was a weird pacifist. I'm not entirely sure if he counts, to be totally honest. But yeah, it was like this weird mixture of somewhere between being a pacifist and, like, extreme coward. And, like, I could kind of understand that if it was, like, a character arc thing. But no, his entire character arc was that he had space age tech, and that he was, like, trying to low-key introduce into the Forgotten Realms as, like, a cool thing. And that was, like, an interesting hook. But, it was just a lot to be suddenly sprung on us. Okay, so what are we missing? Flying wild hogs and a zombie corpse all the way over here. Oh. They must have spawned after I defeated something here. But yeah, those are that guy's stories. And I'm always, like, terrified of meeting new people for D&D and finding out that, like, half of them are that guys. Because you never know. You can be perfectly good friends with somebody and then load up you know, just say, hey, let's play D&D. It'll be fun. Only to find out that they are the worst that guy ever. Red Tears. Instantly restore 20 HP. Max charges up by 1. Immunity to damage for 1 second. That's pretty good. That's really good. Shield of Tsunami. Friendly elemental and teleport chant. Nah, that's not as good as the shield. And we don't have enough money anyway. Wonder, does time pass while you're inside a bag of holding? Yes. There's also no oxygen in there, so you will suffocate unless you leave it open. It is not actually a proper escape mechanism unless you're an undead or a warforged. I had a warforged that would hide in bags of holding frequently as like a... Oh man, I had a warforged rogue who would effectively... you would slingshot him into wherever you wanted to get into while he was in a bag of holding. And then he'd effectively had like a periscope and he would look out and be like, so, is it safe to come out yet? Yes. Okay. So now I start sneaking around to open the door, so on and so forth. It was great. I liked him. Fortunately, they've only been putting out like small amounts of Eberron stuff for 5th edition. So I haven't exactly done Warforged shenanigans again. I also haven't been a player character, which is kind of the other thing. I only know one other person that DMs D&D campaigns, and it's Price from Stumped, and I'm pretty sure he is booked for the rest of his life as far as DMing goes. Let's see, from my limited experience as GM, it's best to have transparency of character motivations among the party. I think it depends on your party's experience with like role-playing and working together. There's nothing worse than a party of newbies that are opposed to each other. Because they don't know how to roleplay, they don't know how to work together. And you're very likely to end up with feelings hurt, instead of, you know, feelings of, you know, that was badass, or like, you know, oh, your character was, like, directly opposed to me, but it makes sense, and, you know, that was kind of cool that that worked out. I had a DM for some of Shell's friends back when we lived in New York, and it was like a mostly functional campaign. Whoa! Oh, this is a serious problem. Those guys slam a jam. Okay. At least we get a healing potion for it, so it's not that big of a deal. I'll have to maybe get the better one. Maybe. We'll see. But so... And I will admit, I am guilty of not doing Session Zeros particularly well, or ever, because I think I just want to dive into it as much as everybody else. In the future, Session Zeros all the way. So, unbeknownst to us, one of the player characters decided, one of the players effectively, was their character wasn't racist, their character hated magic with a burning passion, for honestly no good reason. They just hated magic, and that was their character motivation. Which kind of sucked, because half of the characters in the campaign, were casters. And the only other party member, there were two. Her husband was I think was like a rogue, or I don't even remember what his character's class was. All I remember is that they were kind of in cahoots, because he made a character that her character wouldn't inherently hate. And then the other one was a gunslinger, who was using a gun, which was close enough to magic. I hate the fact that my fireballs just straight up miss these guys. I have a lot of grumps. But yeah, so the gun was too close to magic, so she hated the gunslinger too. And more or less was, oh, where'd you come from? She hated the gunslinger just as much too. And, oh. And more or less, immediately I was trying to do the really classic generic, y'all starting in, you vaguely know each other, and she's like, no, we don't. I wouldn't associate myself with them. And then walks out of the inn. And the only reason why I could keep her in the campaign was because she literally gets kidnapped with everybody else. outside the inn because I couldn't figure out how to get them to actually not just leave town and... Yeah. I was not particularly heartbroken when when we moved away and the campaign didn't continue. It had some great ideas, but good God. I don't want to have to play matchmaker for party members that agreed to playing D&D in the first place. I probably shouldn't have opened this thing up, now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe it worked out, actually. Nope, we're good. Sweet.